Alrighty, this is going to be a much needed update on my elevator parts collection. So we will go ahead and start up over here. First off, we have a Dover access key switch. Next to it, we have a ThyssenKrupp access key switch. Then we have another, this one's not a access switch, but this one's an interlock bypass switch. Next to it is a US call button. This is the square button version. They light up. Next to that is a Signa 4 lantern, and then below that we have a US indicator. Something interesting about these US indicators is that US always use buttons for their indicators. I don't know why they did this, I guess just to save money, but it's pretty interesting. Above this we have two lanterns, this one, and then this is an EPCO one. Above this we have a EPCO flush line indicator. Then we have another indicator that doesn't have any guts, but it's still a very cool piece. Next up, we'll move down here. Down here, we have 3 impulse call stations. These first 2 light up, and then the second one doesn't, or third one, not second, doesn't light up. Here we have the traditional call station that everyone seems to have. It's a pretty cool piece still. Also lights up. Over here, we have a Dover black button call station. This is a really neat piece. EPCO circle line, EPCO flush line, another EPCO flush line. This is a very special piece. This came from Evangeline's in Old Sacramento. Here's a very unique piece. This is a US soft touch call button. So this call button, you just tap, and as you see, it lights up. It's pretty cool. Next to this, we have a Adams call button. This is the VR version. Here we have a more typical Adams call button. This is the non-California code version. And then next to that, we have the California code version. This is a very cool piece. This is another Adams button, but it has the Apple logo right in the center. This is a very unique piece. Next to that, we have a square Adams call button. You would typically find these on home elevators. Next to this, we have a Schindler MT call button. This is a nice piece. Then we have a Schindler HT call button, another Schindler HT call button, and then a Schindler 3300 call button. However, this is the California code version of the 3300 call button. Now we'll move up. The first thing over here is a Monitor TR call station. This thing is very tall. Next to it is a Armor call station. It has the indicator built above, which is pretty neat. Here's one of my personal favorite pieces. This is a Elevator Electric. I apologize, the logo is kind of hard to see, but it does have a logo. It's right there, it's just kind of hidden. Alarm, door open, 1, 2, 3. And then if you pull emergency stop, it lights that up. Next to this, we have a Innovation call station. This thing is also very tall. It has an indicator up there. Next to this, we have a Montgomery elevator relay and a GAL call station. And then behind it is a Payne call station. It has no guts, but it's pretty cool. Here is a Armor car top. Everything on it works. Next to this, we have a American Elevator Company panel. This is a very cool panel. And then this company was from San Francisco, and it actually says San Francisco at the bottom, which is pretty neat. Next to this, we have this very old call station. I like this call station a lot. Here's an Otis Black button call station. This one has the in-use light here. And then here's another version of the Otis Black button fixtures. This one has the arrows in the middle. Here's another version. This one would have the rotodial in the middle. Sadly, it does not have the rotodial, but the buttons do press in. Next to this is a Stanley call button. This is very neat. One thing about these call buttons that's weird is the button, it's kind of hard to tell on camera. Well, you can kind of see. The button actually presses in at an angle, which is kind of weird. Here is a very old Otis call button, up and down. Next to this, we have a Otis Series 1 call button. Next to the Otis Series 1 call button, we have these fixtures. This came from a company, supposedly, the company that installed these, it was like a Atlantic Elevator, I think was the name. But I believe these are just like a generic button. Next to this, though, we have C.J. Anderson. Actually, sorry, that's my fault. These are C.J. Anderson, and then this is also C.J. Anderson. And then this is also C.J. Anderson, except this is newer style C.J. Anderson. Light up. Down contact's a little finicky right now. Here's another Otis black button style fixture. This was a constant pressure one, so it has no arrows or anything in the center. Instead, it's just on the actual buttons. And then finally over here, we have a Atlas call station panel. This came off of a freight, I think. It's a pretty unique piece. Now we'll move up to the next shelf. First off, we have a ERM fire service panel up here. This is the older style of ERM, so it's very pushy. Next up, we have a EPCO call station. Next to it, we have the ThyssenKrupp Safety Ambassadors call station. Next up, we have a Westinghouse mushroom call button. No guts, but it's a very neat piece. And then this is where the dials would go. Next to it is a Armor VR call station. Both buttons light up. And next to this is a Innovation Security call station. I love this thing. I love older Innovation Security, so it's a pretty cool piece. And these elevators that they came off of were maintained by Kone. This actually came from the Doco garage, and so did this. Next to this is a Kone Delta call button. These buttons are pretty cool. And next to this is a Innovation call button. This is just universal. And then this is Pinnacle. This lights up blue, which I really like. And then these are Schaefer buttons. And they light up blue and red, which is pretty cool. Here's a Dover access key switch, or fire service key switch, I'm sorry. And then this, I'm not totally sure, I believe this came off of like a dumbwaiter or something. This came somewhere over in England, I believe. I could be wrong about that though. Now we'll move up to the final shelf up here. This is a very old Otis style lantern. Oh yeah, and then this is a schematic, or not a schematic, well I guess it kind of is, of the elevators that go up the Eiffel Tower. Here is a Westinghouse lantern that came out of the Doco garage. A different version of EPCO SSL. This one is on a very big plate. Here is a COP. This is just a generic COP that came, you would see this style on a lot of elevators in Asia. And it has an indicator up there. It's pretty cool. There's an EPCO button. Here's a random like doorbell kind of button. There's a escalator comb back there. Here's a US square button, call button. Here is a very, very old elevator phone. This thing, I don't even know how old it dates back to, but clearly it could be over 100 years. Here are some original postcards from the World's Fair in Chicago. These ones are showing what Otis was doing there. So these are pretty cool. Below this is an elevator sign, and then below this is a armor indicator. And that's about it for the main display over here, but there is much more. Down here below the main display is a PTL call button. Next to it is the older version of Adams that has the more clicky contacts and it doesn't press very far in. Next to this, Adams Designer is on a very long panel. All of these are pretty tall. Here is a Otis home elevator panel that actually uses innovation, which is pretty unique. Next to this, we have two different styles of innovation decorator. This first version is the newer version. It's the kind that's more common. It doesn't press very far in and it has like a click to it. This is the older version. It's more rounded and it has metal contacts. So it presses farther in and you can kind of hear it clicking the metal. Here is a Epco call button in Schwein. And then next to this is a very unique piece. These are Epco touch buttons. These are the ones that you would typically see on Schindler's. However, in this case, it was clearly used on like some kind of older mod, which is very unique. I've never actually seen these out in the field before. Next to it is an old annunciator panel. Next up to this annunciator panel is something very unique. This is a mile counter for a Otis elevator. I've never actually seen one of these in person, but I believe they were found on 60s installations and earlier. I could be wrong about that though. On this case, it traveled 3,260 miles. It does actually say Otis, let's see, right there. Next to it is a prop. This is actually a movie prop that they used. So the buttons aren't real, they're fake. But what is interesting is it says Llewellyn on there, which Llewellyn actually was a real elevator company based out of LA. So it's kind of cool that they took that much time to actually craft this to make it look real. Next to this is the Doco elevator panel. So this came out of one of the two cars in the set. And is a full Epco panel. It's very flimsy because it's just kind of this huge piece of metal. And then the cabinet's down there. It's missing a phone, but everything else is there. And there's just this random elevator picture right next to it. And that's it for over here. Next up is one of my larger pieces. This is a GAL COP. That button gets stuck a little bit just because of the contact, or not the contact, but the thing. But it does fully light up. Up here we have all the key switches and then the indicator. This came out of LA. It does feature ERM key switches, which is very interesting. People thought these were actually ERM for a very long time, but they are actually GAL, which is very interesting. Over here I have some more parts. First off is a Westinghouse, just RT call button, which is really just atoms. Next to this is a very old Otis elevator car panel. The Otis logo is up there. Really does not want to focus on it, but it's right there. You can kind of see it. It says Otis. This is the type where you'd hold in the button. Let me see if I can kind of show it better from here. You can kind of see it. It's an alarm button. You would hold it down or hold it up to go up. It's very cool. Next to this is a US elevator COP. 4, 3, 2, 1, B. The very interesting thing about this is it actually came off a freight elevator, which US freight elevators are very rare, so it's very unique. It's missing 2 buttons. I actually have these buttons, but I have not put them back in because it does not have the bracket for them to stay there, so they don't really stay there, but it's a very cool piece. Next up, we have this department style indicator. I absolutely love this thing. It shows what's on each level. It's very neat. It's in semi-decent condition. Almost all the letters are there. This one slightly messed up, and this one as well, but for the most part, it's in good condition. It's very neat. Very cool piece. Next up, I kind of have this little display area up here for smaller things. Over here, we have some GAL call buttons. This one has no contacts. And then there's a broken US button down there that's absolutely destroyed. And a random generic button up there. Back there is a Schindler cup. The Schindler logo is actually right there. It's just very hard to see because it's dark in here. These are ThyssenKrupp glasses, I believe. There's a Otis globe. Some other random knickknacks. There's some ThyssenKrupp traditional call buttons. And there's lots of little things. This is a red tag, which is pretty cool. Over here, we have a Thyssen plate. Lots more little plates, Otis plates. There's an Otis Company plate back there. Here's some random buttons. These actually came out of Grand Sierra, which is pretty cool. And then there's an elevator certificate back there. And then there's a key switch. And right above this is the Doco indicator. Well, the Westinghouse indicator from Doco. Below this is a home elevator call station and a drop key box. Next up, we have some random call buttons. First up is a ThyssenKrupp Aurora call button. Next to it is a ERM call button. This is the newer version of ERM. A lot of people call these the recycle buttons. Next to it is a Otis call button. Next to this, we have a Dover COP. I absolutely love this thing. It features the very old version. I believe this is like the first version of their own buttons that they produced. They press very satisfying. And then it has the Dover logo down there. And then it has this key switch up here as well. Next up to this, we have a EPCO call button. This one has a key switch for fire service. And then next to this, we have a Innovation Premier call station. This one, I really like this line of Innovation. It has a very nice press. And it looks very nice as well. It also has a up and down access key switch. Next up, we have a few more random things. Here's a very neat Montgomery elevator car top station. Features the Montgomery logo, which is very cool, and it has a black button, safe button. Run, inspect switch, and then Montgomery Elevator Company at the bottom. Next to this is another EPCO call button. This is just a different version of EPCO with the light being in the center. It's very worn down, especially this down button here. Next to this is a Montgomery elevator to be used in case of fire button. This is the square button version. So these buttons are very hard to press, but they do press. And next to this is a very neat Montgomery Vector lantern. This thing is very neat. One interesting thing about these Vector lanterns is they are the same ones used on A series. They just have different lenses, which is pretty unique. So that's what a Vector lantern looks like. It's just these little squares that pop on there. Next to this is a black button call station. This one has no guts. It's only pressing right now because it's on this, but it's still pretty neat. I like this plate. And that's it for over here. Next up, we have this car top station. Not sure who makes these, but they feature these little switches that toggle back and forth. It has a alarm bell and then a spot for a light up here. Next to this one, we have this one. This one has these very satisfying buttons. These were used by Innovation, but I don't think they're actually made by Innovation. I could be wrong about that, though. And then next to this, we have a Montgomery VFD indicator. If I pop it open, give me 1 second. Here you can actually see the internal workings, and then there's where the actual display is. It's a pretty cool piece. And that's it for over here. Next up, we have something very unique. This is a Schindler elevator sales sample for this series. I'm not totally sure what this series was called, but it is a Schindler. It was used by Schindler, but these are EPCO products. So over here, we have this indicator, and then there's a knob up here. And as you turn the knob, and it chimes as well, which is really neat. Next to this, we have something that is very cool. This is one of those EPCO touch buttons, and it actually lights up. And it's on a little relay, so it stays lit for a second. It's very cool. If you're very quiet, you can actually hear the relay. Do it one more time. And then next to this, we have a EPCO lantern. If you go down, it just lights up down. However, if you hit the up direction, Schindler chime, which is very cool. And I'll do this one more time. Very cool. This is one of my favorite pieces that I have. Next up, I have this cabinet over here that contains some random stuff. First off is a prop elevator call button. There's no buttons or anything. Next to this is a pit light switch. So this would actually be the switch that would turn on the lights in the pit, which is pretty cool. In here, I have it in bubble wrap so it doesn't get damaged, but is a Otis elevator touch call button completed with the tubes. It does not have the plate, but other than that, it does have the tubes, which were very hard to find, but it's very cool. I'm waiting to find a plate so this can be completed, but it's pretty cool. Over here is a Otis elevator relay, and then behind it is a lantern. You can see a little bit of a yellow paint from where this came from. Behind here is a CJ Anderson call button. It lights up and press, which is pretty cool. Here's a lantern. Next to this, I'm not totally sure what kind of buttons these are, but they have a very satisfying press. I'm not totally sure where this came from, but it probably came off of a freight or something. Next to this is another version of Otis Black button. This is the version of the rotodial that like turns in here, and it turns forwards, it goes down. Does not press, does not have any guts, but it's still neat. Above here is a Kone elevator magnet, and over here is a Otis globe magnet, oil magnet, Kone magnet, and ThyssenKrupp magnet. And that's it for in here. Next up is my Otis Elevonic 401 panel. As you can see here, Elevonic does not have the indicator plate. Other than that, it is complete. I do have that, but it, again, does not have the thing, so it doesn't sit in there properly. But other than that, it is complete. It is a very neat piece. Not gonna press every button, but it is all there. It's a very cool part. Next up is going to be my final part. This is also my biggest part. It is a full ThyssenKrupp Aurora COP. Yes, this is a full COP. It is a swing door COP. Start down here, got a help button, alarm, open, close, 1, 2, and all the fire service stuff. And then up here, the indicator. This thing is very neat. It is massive, but a very, very cool part. And that is about it. There are a few other things that I wasn't able to show. However, those things are not too important. They're mostly just elevator magazines or little things like key switches or whatever. But I covered pretty much all the big stuff in here. So thank you for watching. That'll be it.